Okay, for the final part of this Stool tutorial, what we're going to look at is adding subdivisions to this and actually controlling the subdivisions as well. The first thing I need to do is finish the stool off. So right now these legs, just down at the bottom, for a start aren't even touching the bottom, and they're rotated away against the bottom as well. So these need fixing. What I'll do to make this a bit more obvious is I'm just going to create a polygon primitives and a plane, and go into my scale tool and just scale this up just big enough. So that it covers the stool area. Okay. I might also make it clearer by just going to the polyplane here and actually just setting that to 0. I'm going to set the width and height here. Set the scale to 0. It should be 1. Sorry about that. Doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to set this to 0. Give me a default of 1 actually. So now we can go in. I'm going to click on this leg here. Right click, go to. So look at this. I'm going to grab the vertices first. And let's just double click on this. I'm working on my move axis on the normals average, and that's just pushing this down in the position against which these polygons are facing. So I'm going to drag this down until it just about starts disappearing around there. And then I'm going to go in. This might be a bit tricky. In fact, I'm going to just isolate this for a second. I'll isolate this little button here. Toggles between. I'm going to grab and I'm Control Shift clicking here just to grab these bottom verts. Check around this. Okay. And on that now, I want to go into scale. You'd think rotate, but I'm actually going to flatten these out rather than rotating them out. Rotating against this axis that's already rotated, or this object that's already rotated, is trickier. So I'm going to scale them down. So scale tool, but if I just use this, again, let's put this on my normals average. If I just scale this, you see nothing really happens. If I go to my discrete scale, which I'm just using the shortcut J for that. In fact, now I'm going to do this to world actually, or object. Sorry, not normals average. So let's press J down. So again, look at this again. If I scale this, you can see it goes all over the place. Rotating it would be difficult. If I press J down, this discrete scale, and do this, it kind of locks down to its axis to flatten this out. It goes down to a certain rotation degrees. Let's do the same with this one. So let's grab, just selecting the first set, and then Control Shift, selecting to make sure I don't miss anything. Or deselect anything. Press Control and drag around that. Okay. If I want to zoom in on this, I can press the F key. Goes a bit overboard, but and then same thing with the scale tool. I'm just going to scale this down on the y-axis. Press J first, then snap that down. Okay. What I can do now, this is flatten this out a bit. Oh, again, I'll go into isolate mode. Actually, it's not too bad on there. What we could do though, just to angle this out a little bit, I'm just going to go in and grab these verts here. Normal's average. If I pull these out, it's just going to pull these two sets of vertices, these 4 vertex points out. Let's Control Z this. If we want to make this a bit more organic, we can go down to our soft select. Now this might default to this value over here, and what happens here is when I move this, you can see pretty much everything moves. Anything that's color coded in yellow is pretty much following 100%. Anything that's color coded red is following pretty much 60 to 80%. Down from that to black to blue, 0%. We can actually control this in a couple of ways. We can do this with a fall off radius, but we can also do this with this fall off curve. So if I click on this circle on the edge of this curve, what we're doing is actually bringing down the effect of this, and you can see this coming down bit by bit on here. Let's put a little bit on this, about there. And with that selected, just looking at why my face normals aren't on. Let's just go back to my make sure I've got the right set here. There's actually these 3. If we pull these out, it also pulls this one out a little bit as well. Could do the same with the back. Let's work out which ones these are. I think it's these 3. Pull these out a little bit. Just to finish at the bottom with the stool off. Okay, let's switch out of soft select. Let's close this down. And let's get on to the subdivisions. So I'll start off with the stool itself. So right now we can actually see the different polygons within this. Can actually see the edges, see it faceting around. We can go in and we can actually we could triangulate, we could tessellate this mesh, we could smooth it out, we could do a number of different things, but these actually add to the mesh itself, and it's nice to have control over this low poly mesh and then create a high poly mesh from that. And there is a way we can do that. We can actually do it with subdivision surfaces. So what subdivision surfaces do is actually average out a curve based on the position of the vertices, of the vertex points. The closer together vertex points are, the more of a sharp edge you get. The further apart they are, the more of a smooth curve you actually get on that. So we can do this with the 3 hotkeys. One on the keyboard is just the normal version of this, unsubdivided. If I go to 3, this is the subdivided version of this. You can see it's actually a lot smoother there. 2 shows the subdivided object and a control cage around that as well. So we can tighten this up. If we want to tighten any of these corners up, this isn't actually too bad. It's not doing too bad a job of it on there. You do notice with the cage that it has shrunk this down a little bit, but you could always scale this back up if you wanted to, if you thought that mattered. So let's just look at tightening this up. If I just go into edge mode, I'm just going to shift and double click on that, and or just double click on that one, shift, double click on the one below, and if we go into our edit mesh, I'm going to do a bevel on this, and just go into our offset, and let's bring this down. Come back. Okay. If I smooth shade it now, you can see this has got a bit of a sharper edge on it than it did have before, and that's just because we've added more vertex points onto this and added them closer together. So it doesn't have as much to do on the smoothing, it creates a sharper edge. Okay, so I'm pretty much happy with the stool as is. The stool seat is there. Let's just move on to our other parts. So let's click on one of the legs, let's press 3, and you can see straight away with this we're losing a lot of definition in the curves here, and these little parts have been laid out, so we need to get that back. So I'll go back to 1 unsubdivided again. If I go to edge mode and let's double click on this one, let's shift, grab up that one, shift, double click, and shift, double click, and while I'm doing these I'm just going to go down here and do the same on these as well. I'm going to do the same, edit mesh, let's do a bevel on these. Let's go to our offset, I'm just highlighting this and then middle mouse dragging. Seems to have some odd selections on there. Let's just have a look at that. Edit mesh, bevel. Oh, that's okay. Okay, better there. Again, if I go into smooth mode, you can see that's much better there now. We can do this further. Can do this in a number of ways. I'm going to actually create. Let me see. Let's double click. Let's shift. Double click on this. Let's grab these. Alt drag down. Grab these. And let's press G to redo our tool. Let's go down. We added even more to that. So you can go wherever you want to actually create more of a rounded point on this, or more of a sharper point. We can also go in and create cuts. So if I go in with my edit mesh, insert edge loop tool, I can actually go in and create more cuts in this if I wanted to. Now remember, you can still edit these at this point. It's a bit more difficult because this is angled. Okay. The bottom of this, I might just isolate this again. Oops. Into object mode. It's quite sharp anyway because we've already got this cut here. What I can do with this is, if I just go into face mode, just going to press Q to select and just drag around these to select them. And then I'm going to do an extrude. With the extrude, I'm going to click into its. Make sure I click on this. I must have another poly selected somewhere. There we go. You can sometimes tell if you click into the other mode, which is its local mode, and it's not in the center of the selection, then usually it's something else selected. So I can control drag around that. Something else somewhere. Might be that one there. Let's try it. So I'm going to go into the scale mode of this. No, let's look at this. I'm going to my scale mode on this. There we go. And just scale this in a little bit, just like that. And that will also act in tightening that bottom edge up some more. Finally, let's just look at another way to do this. If I just go to the top of this, I'm going to do a similar thing to what I did before here. I'm going to go into face and select this. I'm going to grab these. In fact, let's just press Q. So again, just control with the same one pretty much. Let's do an extrude on this. Scale in. And because we're not actually seeing this set of polygons here, we can just press delete and get rid of those. And again, that's going to tighten the edge up. Let's go into our object mode. Just by right clicking, let's come out of isolate. And let's finalize these ones here now. So again, I'm going to isolate these. Again, we don't really see these inner polygons on this. So let's smooth these out. You can see these smooth out too much. So we can go into our face selection. I'm just going to grab around here, shift drag around here, and then control drag around the middle. That's one way of doing it. And we can press delete. And if I go into our smooth mode now, you can see that's much better. Let's come out of that. So everything on there, smooth, everything pretty much ready to go. The only final thing you might want to do is just to actually scale this up to the real scale. So what we can do with this is just go into our outliner. Let's just go into the group that we created in one of the other lessons to grab the whole thing. And in our scale, because we're working at our 1/4 scale, if I just go into this, type in 4, okay, there we have our stool. Okay, and that's the end of this tutorial and the end of the stool modelling.